The Formula One world was thrown into chaos after Ferrari delivered a stunning statement that left the entire paddock reeling. Frédéric Vasseur, Ferrari's team principal, made a bold decision that could change the balance of power between Ferrari, Mercedes, and Red Bull. For Lewis Hamilton, it was news he didn't want to hear. Ferrari's announcement came just days after mounting speculation surrounding their strategy and internal structure. Yet instead of retreating, they unleashed a decision that stunned rivals and set the stage for an intense second half of the season. This wasn't a cautious move. It was a calculated risk that signaled Ferrari's readiness to challenge the status quo. Hamilton, who had hoped for stability within Ferrari's camp, now faces a revitalized opponent ready to push boundaries. In a sport where momentum determines champions, this development could tilt the scales in Ferrari's favor. As Silverstone's echoes fade, one truth emerges. Vasseur's gamble may either shatter Ferrari or finally awaken the Scuderia's long-dormant championship ambition. And Hamilton knows it. Vasseur's decision was far from ordinary. He restructured Ferrari's development program and granted Charles Leclerc unprecedented influence over technical changes. At the same time, he accelerated a radical upgrade package aimed at closing the gap to Red Bull. The move shocked many inside the paddock. Some believed it was reckless to shift Ferrari's operational focus mid-season. Others saw it as a necessary masterstroke, a calculated risk designed to unleash Ferrari's true potential. For Hamilton, it represented a dangerous threat. Mercedes had been steadily regaining form, but Ferrari's sudden resurgence could disrupt Hamilton's carefully planned path to reclaiming dominance. With McLaren also gaining strength, the championship landscape was evolving faster than expected. Vasseur's gamble was not only technical, it was psychological. He wanted to send a message to Hamilton, Verstappen, and every rival. Ferrari would no longer play defensively. The implications were clear. If Ferrari's risk pays off, Hamilton may face the fiercest challenge of his career in the coming races. Behind closed doors, Hamilton and Mercedes analyzed Ferrari's move with growing unease. Publicly, Hamilton remained calm, projecting confidence. Privately, he and his engineers understood the gravity of Ferrari's shift. For years, Ferrari had been accused of playing it safe. Now they were doing the opposite, embracing aggressive innovation and empowering their drivers to shape development. Hamilton recognized the danger. A unified Ferrari with a faster car could disrupt not only Mercedes, but also Red Bull's dominance. Hamilton's concern wasn't rooted in fear but respect. He had raced long enough to know that underestimated rivals often strike hardest. With Leclerc and Sainz fully committed to Ferrari's bold direction, Mercedes could no longer treat them as secondary threats. In strategy briefings, Hamilton urged Mercedes to anticipate Ferrari's next move. He knew that if Vasseur's gamble succeeded, Ferrari would not just win races, they could alter the championship narrative entirely. The calm before the storm was over. For Hamilton, every race from here on out would be a fight for survival. Inside Ferrari's Maranello headquarters, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. Vasseur's statement wasn't just a declaration. It triggered a full-scale internal revolution. Engineers, designers, and strategists were reassigned, creating a new structure aimed at speed and precision. Enrico Cardile, Ferrari's technical chief, was tasked with leading the most aggressive development cycle in years. The goal was clear: eliminate the weaknesses that had plagued Ferrari: pit stop errors, flawed strategies, and aerodynamic inefficiencies. For once, Ferrari wasn't simply reacting. They were redefining their approach. This restructuring gave Leclerc and Sainz renewed confidence. They were no longer questioning Ferrari's direction. They were part of shaping it. The morale boost was palpable, and the team's renewed energy carried into the garage. Meanwhile, rival teams watched with caution. Ferrari was no longer predictable. Their willingness to take risks made them an unpredictable and dangerous opponent. For Hamilton and Mercedes, This evolution marked the beginning of a new and far more complicated championship battle. Ferrari was no longer playing catch-up. They were hunting. Ferrari's bold plan unleashed a development war. Within days of Vasseur's announcement, rival teams scrambled to analyze every detail of Ferrari's upcoming upgrade package. Red Bull remained confident, but Mercedes privately admitted concern. The upgrades reportedly focused on two critical areas: straight-line speed and tire management, two of Ferrari's historical weaknesses. If successful, these changes would transform Ferrari from podium contenders into race winners. Hamilton, ever the strategist, studied Ferrari's trajectory closely. He knew that every technical gain from Maranello could translate into fewer chances for Mercedes to close the gap. The battle was no longer just about driving skill, it was about whose team could adapt faster. Ferrari's engineers, motivated by Vasseur's bold leadership, doubled their efforts. Simulator sessions ran late into the night, with Leclerc and Sainz providing constant feedback. For once, Ferrari looked relentless. The championship was entering a new phase, a high-speed arms race where one breakthrough could determine everything. And Ferrari's gamble had just fired the first shot. Mercedes felt the immediate impact of Ferrari's bold strategy. While Hamilton maintained composure, the team accelerated its own upgrade plans. Every department was placed under pressure to match Ferrari's pace. This sudden shift disrupted Mercedes' carefully structured development roadmap. Resources were redirected and priorities changed. Ferrari's aggressive gamble had forced Mercedes to play catch-up in areas they hadn't planned to address this early in the season. For Hamilton, this added a new layer of complexity. Instead of simply focusing on beating Verstappen, he now had to account for Ferrari's rapidly improving form. A three-way fight at the front was no longer hypothetical. It was inevitable. The tension grew within Mercedes as engineers debated how far they could push their car without destabilizing the season. Meanwhile, Ferrari's momentum only increased. Silverstone was no longer just another race. It had become the turning point of the season. And Hamilton knew that unless Mercedes reacted perfectly, Ferrari's rise could rewrite the entire narrative of 2025. Charles Leclerc, long criticized for being unlucky at Ferrari, now had his moment. Vasseur's decision gave him not only influence, but also renewed faith in the Scuderia's future. Leclerc embraced this responsibility fully. His feedback shaped Ferrari's upgrade path, and his relentless drive pushed the engineers to the limit. For the first time in years, Ferrari's lead driver felt truly empowered. Hamilton, who had once seen Leclerc as merely talented but inconsistent, now recognized a more dangerous rival. A motivated Leclerc in a fast car could disrupt any championship equation, and Ferrari's renewed energy gave him the perfect platform to strike. Even Carlos Sainz, often overshadowed, benefited from this transformation. With a stable team structure, both Ferrari drivers became a united force, one that Hamilton and Mercedes could no longer dismiss. Ferrari was no longer fragmented. They were synchronized, determined, and focused on one target: breaking the dominance of their rivals. For Hamilton, this was no longer about strategy. It was about endurance against a resurgent enemy. As Ferrari's momentum built, psychological warfare entered the paddock. Rivals tried to dismiss Ferrari's surge as temporary, but their words lacked conviction. Hamilton remained outwardly calm, but inside Mercedes, private discussions hinted at unease. Meanwhile, Vasseur's sharp comments in press briefings signaled Ferrari's growing confidence. He openly challenged rivals, declaring Ferrari ready to fight at any circuit. Leclerc, too, projected newfound belief, his composure unshaken even under intense media scrutiny. The message was clear: Ferrari was no longer playing defense. They were here to disrupt. Hamilton had been in Formula One long enough to understand this shift. He had used psychological pressure countless times himself. Now, he was on the receiving end. The battle for the 2025 championship wasn't just mechanical, it was mental. And Ferrari's transformation was forcing every rival, even Hamilton, to adjust their approach. For the first time in years, Ferrari looked fearless. And fearlessness in Formula One is often the deadliest weapon. Silverstone had always been a stage for iconic battles, but this year, it became the birthplace of Ferrari's revolution. Vasseur's decision, Ferrari's upgrades, and Leclerc's determination converged into a single defining moment. During practice sessions, Ferrari's pace shocked even the skeptics. While the final results were still pending, the psychological blow to their rivals was immediate. Ferrari wasn't bluffing. They were evolving. Hamilton, ever the competitor, acknowledged the challenge. He pushed harder in every session, extracting every fraction of performance from his car. Yet he could feel Ferrari closing in. In the garages, Mercedes engineers studied Ferrari's data obsessively, searching for weaknesses. But this wasn't the same Ferrari they had faced in previous seasons. This team had direction, speed, and unwavering belief. Silverstone proved one undeniable truth. Ferrari was no longer chasing. They were hunting. And if Hamilton wanted to stay in front, he would need to fight like never before. Ferrari's shocking decision has reshaped the championship. Vasseur's bold leadership and the team's renewed energy have reignited one of Formula One's greatest rivalries. For Hamilton, this is both a challenge and a test of legacy. He must now face not only Verstappen's relentless pace, but also Ferrari's resurgent threat. Every race will demand absolute precision, and every mistake will carry a heavier cost. Ferrari's gamble has already achieved its first objective. It forced their rivals to react. From here, every development, every strategy call, and every lap will be part of a larger war for supremacy. What began as a single shocking statement has transformed into a defining moment for the sport. Ferrari is no longer in the shadows. They are standing at the front, ready to fight. For Hamilton, Silverstone was not the end of the story. It was the beginning of the most intense championship battle Formula One has seen in years. And Ferrari has just made their move.